It is an extreme pleasure to introduce our next speaker, our co-founder and CEO, Dhruv. As you may know, ShipBob is a global logistics platform that fulfills e-commerce orders for direct-to-consumer brands. Our mission is to make you more successful by providing best-in-class fulfillment so your customers get fast and affordable shipping that they expect. So don't forget to add your questions in the chat. And to get things kicked off, please start typing where you are tuning from. And then I'm also going to share a link to our booth. So after this chat with Dhruv, if there's any burning questions you have that didn't get answered, please feel free to jump in to our booth. So Dhruv, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Carly. I'm so excited to be presenting on this session, and I'm so excited for everyone who's attending. I hope for the next 25 I can share some more context from our vantage point of having worked with 5,000 plus e-commerce brands, what we are seeing in this landscape. So, Carly, let me know if you can see my screen okay, and then we'll get started. Carly, you can hear me okay?
Yes, you're all good, Dhruv. I can see your screen.
Got it. Okay. I will make it full screen again and get started. Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining. As Carly mentioned, I'm one of the co-founders of ShipBob. I'm super excited to tell you about, from our vantage point of what we are seeing in this e-commerce direct-to-consumer space. And so the best way for us to get started is for me to share a very successful story of a brand called Hero Cosmetics. Hero Cosmetics started in 2017, and over the last few years has grown by over 700%. And where they are now, the company had a very simple start. And as you can see from the tweet that one of the founders, Ju, posted, it all started from one SKU, one channel. And that is very similar to how we see majority of e-commerce brands get started. As Hero Cosmetics found product market fit on that one channel, on against that one SKU, they realized that they had to own more and more of the customer or the shopper experience. And so they started looking at ways on how do they achieve faster shipping so that their shoppers can get from their website the same experience that they would get from Amazon.com. Also, the advantage of shipping or having their own website was they could customize the unboxing experience and tailor it to exactly how they wanted that brand, their Hero Cosmetics brand, to be perceived. After working through the shopper experience piece of it, they continued to accelerate growth even more. And the way they got to several hundred percentage points of growth was now starting to expand back into omni-channel, which is selling into as many channels like Target, Walmart, etc., that they could get into, and also introducing more SKUs along with a period of time to make sure that they become a single product from a single product company to a multi-SKU company. And once they nailed omni-channel, then they started focusing on making sure that their shoppers are no longer constrained to USA, the first geography that they launched in, but are spread out across across the entire globe. And this journey from one SKU, one channel to multi SKUs, multi channel, and global is sort of aided by companies like ShipBob, where we can help brands like Hero Cosmetics achieve this journey. And so, over the next few slides, I'll present to you the macro tailwinds that we see in this direct to consumer space, but also some of the headwinds and how brands are responding to it. So, the three fundamental tailwinds that are driving our direct to consumer e commerce growth. And I'll articulate each one of those three. So, the first one is that it's never been easier than ever in the history of internet to start an e-commerce business today. And so the proof point on that statement is if you look at the number of merchants launched on top of Shopify, one of the many platforms in this space, you can see how they have gone from having less than 100,000 merchants on the platform in 2012 all the way up to closer to 2 million merchants on Shopify over the last 6 years. And this growth is only accelerating even faster. And Shopify is one of the many companies in the space. So there are platform companies like Square, BigCommerce, Squarespace, who are also seeing the same growth. So I think it's the best time in the history of internet to be an e-commerce entrepreneur. So that's fact number one, and that's why we are seeing a large number of brands getting created today than ever before. Fact number two for us is that there have never been more online and offline channels for these brands to reach their shoppers. And so when ShipOff started in 2014, majority of the brands would be selling, on Amazon and on eBay. And then from 2014 to 2018, of course, Shopify, WooCommerce, BigCommerce, Squarespace came in, and they started accelerating this direct to consumer through your own website sort of channel alongside marketplaces. Today at Shipboard, we see brands who are not only on their own website, not only selling across multiple marketplaces, including Walmart, eBay, Amazon, but are also selling into traditional brick and mortar retailers like Macy's, Best Buy, and using drop shipping capabilities of websites like Nordstrom and Chewy.com. And in the next few years, we believe that there will be even more channels that these brands have access to. And so the number of ways that that our brands can sell into will only grow in the go forward years. And so as an e-commerce brand, you should have a strategy of making sure that your product catalog and your marketing dollars can support multi-channel. And the third fact is that it's never been easier than ever before to market to future and current customers around the world than today. And so again, in 2014 or so, majority of brands, because being digitally native, the way that they were reached to the customers was either through Google or Facebook. And those were the two primary mechanisms. Over the next 4 years, from 2014 to 2018, we started seeing, of course, Snapchat and Instagram come into the foray, and brands starting to diversify their marketing channels here. And then today, if we speak to brands, they are spending their marketing and advertising dollars on Google and Facebook and Instagram being the primary channels, but they're also starting to experiment with channels like YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, Snapchat, etc. And over the next few years, we think the number of ways that brands will be able to reach their customers through and market to them will only accelerate. So these three tailwinds are really exponentially driving the growth in the direct to consumer space. And one more point to make on this is because all of these marketing channels are digital, it allows brands to market to customers around the world. So today, a company which is maybe 2 or 3 years old can start thinking about its global strategy instead of just focusing on the region that they first launched in. And that has never been possible before. So, in all of this optimism, there are some headwinds which are making it harder for a brand to scale. And so today, because there are so many brands getting started, all of them are reaching their customers through similar channels and through similar marketing mechanisms, it is getting more and more expensive for brands to efficiently scale. And so some of the headwinds that we are seeing in this space are the four big ones that I have listed over here. The first one being supply chain issue. I'm sure everyone's been reading about it, or it's all over the news, but labor shortages, port congestions, and last mile carrier costs and carrier surcharges are through the roof. And that is increasing the cost of operating a direct to consumer brand. And the second one, and I'll walk through the right side of the chart in a bit, and the second one is again the one I highlighted is the cost of acquisition is increasing. And not only is that going up, but because shoppers are inundated with advertisements on every single media, they are getting attuned to not pay attention to those advertisements anymore. So shopper attention, to capture shopper attention, is really, really starting to get hard. The third one again speaks to, how Amazon and the Walmarts of the world have made shoppers' expectations on what a great delivery experience looks like incredibly high. And so no longer can you be a brand and say that you will ship your an order out in 2 days or 3 days. Shoppers are expecting you to have that order delivered at their doorstep in a 2 to 3 day time frame. And fourth one is customers expect, to see your brand and be able to buy anytime and literally anywhere. And so the traditional approach of a direct to consumer brand to be online only, to be a single channel only at their own website, no longer seems to be applicable because customers are shopping everywhere. So against these headwinds, what are we seeing the most successful brands and on Shibbob start to do? So one is on the supply chain issues is to work with trusted experts to help them forecast better, to create this integration between all of the different partners who are helping them orchestrate their inventory and supply chain, so that every single company running their supply chain has the same access to information as anybody else. And so this way they are able to make sure that not one company, is creating a bottleneck for them, and they're getting better in inventory management and order management across channels. So that's the one piece around supply chain, to solve the things that you can solve through. The second one is around cost of acquisition and shopper retention. Here, we are seeing brands adopt more and more personalized and creating delightful, memorable purchase and post-purchase experiences. The way to do this is through custom boxes, to create gift notes, where the packing slip has some personalized message from the founders of these brands, and create words and create, experiences through kitting individual items together, to create new products. And finally, to get through the cost of acquisition going up, is to always be experimenting and finding new channels or new customers globally. And a lot of brands are telling us that there's an arbitrage opportunity between finding customers in the US versus finding customers in UK and EU, where the cost of acquisitions are still relatively low. The third one is, of course, I think is table stakes at this point, is shoppers are demanding faster and freer ways of shipping. And our brand's ability to provide 2 day, next day shipping is almost table stakes. But not only that, our shoppers are demanding that they are caught up with all of the activities which tells them what happens once they click that buy button. So that transparency and visibility as to where that order is in its journey is super important. And finally, is, around customers wanting to shop anytime, anywhere, is brands' ability to have a technology stack and a fulfillment stack, which allows them to have their products be sold literally anywhere, which might be in their own website, might be a marketplace, but it could also include a retail brick and mortar store. And so, at ShipBob, how do we fit into this broader ecosystem? And so maybe I'll illustrate this through the flywheel that internally at ShipBob we pay a lot of attention to. And this sort of helps brands joining ShipBob take advantage of our growing capabilities and help them grow and reach their shoppers as well. And so at ShipBob, we have close to 7,000 brands now live on our platform. As more brands join ShipBob, it allows ShipBob to ship more orders on behalf of these brands. When ShipBob ships more orders, it allows us to add more locations to service all of the orders and inventory in our network. When we open up more locations, to ship these orders, it creates more sites for our merchants to distribute inventory. When merchants are able to distribute inventory across multiple locations, it creates the ability for them to offer faster and cheaper form of shipping. When they are able to pass on those savings back to their customers, it creates an opportunity for their customers or for the shoppers to place more orders and become loyal customers, resulting in more orders. And more orders then becomes an input for ShipBob to open up more locations, which allows our merchants to distribute inventory. And so this flywheel allows brands and ShipBob to provide a democratized access to a best-in-class logistics infrastructure and provide brands, no matter what their size might be, the same capabilities that the Amazons and the Walmarts have built for themselves. And one more point on this is as we are opening up more locations, those locations are capable of a lot more capability set than simply e-commerce. So today, as I mentioned before, our brands are multi-channel. They expect ShipBob to be able to ship products to brick and mortar stores, to retail stores, which are generally classified as B2B shipping. They expect ShipBob to be able to ship anywhere in the world. That means global is an important element for ShipBob's overall strategy. And finally, apps and integrations and marketplaces is our philosophy that we don't want to restrict brands of picking and choosing where to sell on. They should be able to sell wherever they want, and ShipBob should be a great solution for them to manage their supply chain across all of those different channels. And so that hopefully gives you a sense of what are the most successful brands doing on ShipBob and what is the capability set needed for us to make them successful. And that was the bulk of my presentation. I hope this was useful, and I would love to take more questions.
Awesome, Drew. Well, thank you so much for that. We did have one question that got brought up a couple of times that I wanted to see if you would be open to answering. And the question was, how can brands achieve 2-day shipping at a cost affordable rate? It was our number one question we got asked. So would obviously love to hear from the expert.
Yeah, for sure. And so, one of the ways that we've seen brands do that is by having them take advantage of our inventory forecasting capabilities and helping them know where exactly, at least, let's say in the US, which fulfillment centers in the US to distribute their inventory to. So the traditional approach to supply chain used to be that you would send all of your products to one location, and from that one location, you would ship to the entire country. And so, when all of your inventory, let's say, is in New York and somebody's ordering from California, that order will not get delivered in a 2-day time frame. However, if you can intelligently place that inventory very, very close to the end consumer, that shrinks the time it takes for that order to travel and reduces the cost of shipping as well, because that package is traveling shorter distance. And so that's our way, and that's very similar to how Amazons and the Walmarts have made it possible, which is to intelligently use data to distribute inventory close to the consumer, and then ship from the closest fulfillment center, which also makes it cheaper. And that's science in a lot of ways exactly what ShipBob is trying to replicate.
You make it sound so simple. Awesome. So, as a reminder, if there's any questions that you guys have, please hop into the booth. We're going to have a live shipping expert there to answer any questions that you have. And we're also offering $1,000 in free shipping credits for any new merchant that signs up for ShipBob. So if you want to see if you qualify for that offer, head into the booth. And yeah, we will go ahead and end it here. And then the next session will be starting soon. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. This was great.
Awesome. Thanks, Drew.